What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel as well as on Twitch, so make sure you come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by my music, which is available anywhere you stream music under the name Aftersound, and I do have a new song out recently called Don't Forget About Me, the Supernova version, so check it out. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate the support. All right, guys, let's do a little bit of an update on the amount of SPS that has been burned since the pre-sale for Conclave Arcana. And really, just to clarify, this is like the pre-sale, right? Because there was a little bit of hype before the pre-sale even began. Now, I believe we were at 134 million SPS that had been burned previous to this. So I'm just doing a little bit of a check-in video so that we can come back and see where we're at once the pre-sale is over, right? But we're at about 40 million SPS burned so far, right? From 134 to 174 million, respectively. Now, here's the thing. With the upcoming end of the pre-sale that will be coming up in the next couple of days here, could we see a lot more SPS get burned? I mean, it all depends, right? You can see here that DEC is actually a little bit below peg. So it all depends on if there is a lot of volume coming in. I just did a video talking about how, we're at 1.2 billion DEC that's been spent so far. So that's a great sign. But the real magic for this, as I've said in the other video as well, is going to happen once we can get into a new equilibrium. And I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't know what it's going to look like. But the fact that we were able to burn 40 million SPS for just the pre-sale so far, right? And again, there could be more, is something that is really, really exciting. Now, for context, and I didn't go back and do the research on this. I just saw people posting about it, so I'm just going to take it. Keep in mind, this is like third-hand information at this point, right? So somebody was saying that we burned about 100 million SPS for Rebellion or throughout the lifetime of Rebellion. Now, the fact that we're already at 40 million for Conclave Arcana and the set isn't even out yet, to me, that bodes quite well. Now, obviously, the higher SPS goes, the less that we burn, right? But so far, at least as of right now, right, for Conclave Arcana, SPS has been below the price of where it was when Rebellion came out on average. If you remember, we were at like 1.3 cents back when Rebellion came out, and then we popped up to 3.9 cents. It was like a 3x. We didn't quite get that reaction here. I mean, I guess if you go all the way to the lows of like 0.004, even though that was like a while back, but 0.004, yeah, I guess we did a 3x from there up to 1.4, a little bit more than a 3x. But we dipped down right after that hype during the beginning of the year, post-election, all that. It was like 0.006, and we moved up to, it was really just a 2x, maybe 2.5x if you really want to be generous. But we didn't quite get that same pop. And the amount of SPS that we were burning in terms of token quantity was significantly higher per dollar because of the fact that we were significantly lower than the price or the value of SPS during that time. So as we stay low here, I actually don't even mind that for right now. I mean, obviously, everybody wants SPS to go to the moon. To me, yes, it is one of the biggest marketing, figures that we can put out there. But there's just a ton of SPS that's out in the ecosystem. I mean, you can see here that there's 925 million that is staked, right? That's almost a third of how much is going to be minted in total. We have, they're saying 1.4 billion circulating. I'm not sure how much is in the DAO, 585 million in the DAO, 421 million in the DAO reserve, right? So, I mean, again, so much of this is like intermingled, so I don't know like what's considered staked and DAO or DAO unstaked and all that. All I'm going to say is that there's a ton of SPS out there already, which we need to eat through. A lot of the conversation is always on how do we, reduce SPS inflation so that we reduce the amount of SPS coming out. And it's like, well, that's only half the problem. I've talked about this at length before. That's only half the problem, right? There's just a lot of SPS out there, which means it's not scarce, it's not scarce with the amount of current demand that there is, based on the players, based on the utility, based on whatever it is that people want and need SPS for. So reducing the amount of inflation is great, but we also need to reduce the amount that's out there unless we're going to bring in a massive number of players. And I'm going to do a video on this again soon, talking about the amount of players that we would need to really make SPS something that is essentially highly desired. But because it's not as high as you think, and I think this is where people get tripped up on, right? We don't need like millions of players coming in. But to me, this is a good sign. We've burned 40 million so far. My hope is that if we can get another 10 million or so burned by the end of the presale, that leaves us with 50 million to burn over the course of Conclave Arcana. And with us having a much better game economy now, right, or the economy being in a much better state, with all of the DEC sinks essentially being, DEC faucets essentially being turned off, right, whether it's gladiator cards, reward cards, leaderboards, like all that stuff has been turned off. we are actually seeing a supply constraint when it comes to DEC, which is pushing it back up to peg, and that's fantastic. So if we can stay near peg, I don't think that we're going to stay at peg the entire time, but if we can stay near peg, then that incentivizes people to buy SPS and burn SPS in the long run, right? The team would probably end up doing that on the whole, because if they need to buy, for example, like $30,000 worth of SPS, $30,000 worth of tokens in a week for the amount of credits coming in, right? That was the average roughly that we saw from September onwards of last year. If they need to buy that, $30,000 might push, DEC over peg, which means they can buy some of it and push DEC to peg, and then the rest of it they buy as SPS and burn for DEC. And all of a sudden we start to see that churn really come in. But overall, 40 million is not bad so far. And again, we have probably the more exciting part of the presale. I know the beginning was fun. Everybody wanted to see where things, where things would shake up. And I think a lot of people are probably looking at this and saying, well, it's kind of disappointing, right? You've only sold, we'll say like, just over 25% of the total amount that could be spent, right? It's 4.4 billion DEC that could be spent on this presale. We're at 1.2 billion. So like I said, just over 1/4. But the fireworks, I think, are still coming. Now, when I say this, I've brought this up multiple times. I don't know that we're going to sell out. I think a lot of people got caught up in the hype before the presale began, but I'm not caught up in that hype anymore. I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to selling out. My goal, my target is 2 billion DEC or credits that end up getting spent, because that would at least match Rebellion, show that the same amount of excitement and hype is here in the space, and everything is fixed, or at least a lot of things have been fixed. And so we can move forward in a way where the flywheel should start activating in a much more consistent way. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I will catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.